Good morning, friends. I'm just a minute early, so I'm going to give it a minute to see if anybody wants to join me today. As you can see, we are going to be talking about the Simply Succulents stamp set, and we are going to be making this card. Give it a few more minutes while everything comes together. So, my name is Linda Edwards. I'm with Crafty Heron Designs, and I hold card classes in my home, in my Crafty Heron studio, and this is one of the cards that we made for a class in March. I was focusing on coloring for that class. So for this card, I'm going to show you how to use the blends to get those two-tone images or colors on those succulents and on the pot. I'm also going to demonstrate this fancy fold. It's called a bookbinding fold. I don't know. But as you can see, it's kind of fun, kind of different. I really like fun folds. So I try to include a variety of them in my classes. And then because this fold just lends itself to this one whole bow, which I did that a couple of weeks ago in one of my Make It Monday live videos. We're going to use it again. I just felt it was just calling out for that bow. And we're going to decorate. I'm going to show you what I did. Decorate the envelope and, of course, the inside. So this is the stamp set that we're going to be using. It's in the January to June 21 mini catalog from Stampin' Up. It is near and dear to my heart. I do love succulents. You know, last week, if you were with me, I talked about hydrangeas. Well, they are my favorite flower, hydrangeas, but succulents, oh my goodness, I just love them. I do have them in places all around my home, and I really enjoy them. And one of the things that I did was I brought in some of the succulents for my students to take a look at, which I should have done today. I didn't think about it, to really kind of see some of the shading. But we'll talk about that more in one of the other classes that I do, where I actually do more of the shading. But it does help, you know, if you kind of are familiar with what this plant actually looks like, if you want a realistic design. You know, sometimes with artistic effects, we don't need everything to be very realistic. This stamp set comes with all these stamps. Love the sentiments. It also comes with a set of dies that go with it. And these are just some of the dies that go with the stamp set. And there's actually one very large die, which is just amazing. And we made some cards with that die as well. And you can see I stash my extra pieces because I experiment a lot when I'm trying to decide what I want to do for my cards. But I save those, you know, they might not work for that particular card, but there's, you know, something coming up that it might be valuable for. So I encourage you to experiment with any of your stamp sets. So today we are going to be making this card. So let's get started. First, the pieces, the things that you need for this card. So the card base is cinnamon cider. It is cut 11 by 4 1/4. It is scored at 4 1/4. Excuse me, scored at 5 1/2 and at 4 1/2. Okay, so you can see you've got two score lines, and I'll show you when we get started how we're going to do that. So 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2 and 4 1/2. And then you need two. I used Very Vanilla, cut at 4 1/4 by 4. 4 1/4 by 4. One is embossed, and I used the Tasteful Textile embossing folder for this one. Use whatever embossing folder that you happen to have available. It just gives it a nice background. So I did that ahead of time. I like to keep these videos short so that you can get to the crafting. We'll need an envelope, just a Very Vanilla envelope. And then the rest of it is pretty much scraps. I have several different pieces of Very Vanilla here, more than I'm going to need, but you never know. And then I have a scrap of Granny Apple Green and of Old Olive. And that's for these extra pieces here. The ribbon that I used is the Vanilla Open Weave Forever Greenery ribbon. It's 18 inches long, and that's the ribbon that we're going to use for the one whole bow, 18 inches long. And I have these in color enamel dots, the 2022 in color enamel dots. These are retiring. You know, we have a new catalog coming along, and there will be some other options for the colors, the 2021, 22 colors, but these are going to be retiring. So I used those in this on this card. Love those. They're really pretty. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do, I think, is stamp the inside and the envelope. Well, actually, let's do this. So the first thing is we'll fold our card base, and then you're going to fold it back again. It's a Z fold. So there we go, like that. So that's where you get the book binding fold. How do you like that? It's kind of fancy, but it's so easy, right? So I'm going to go ahead and prepare the card base, just putting the liquid glue. I like liquid glue, but you use whatever adhesive you're comfortable with. This is certainly, you know, going to work for just about anything. It's very straightforward, as you can see. I'm just going to fold that over, and I like to use my bone folder to get a nice crisp edge, sometimes on the back side. And then this piece is going to come back like that. See? Nice and simple. All right, so now we'll do the stamping on our envelope and on the inside piece. So the envelope, we're going to stamp. We're going to use the outlines. We're going to start with this stamp set, and I'm going to use the Old Olive. Tap, tap, tap. And because I'm going to go off the page a little bit, I'm putting it on some of this paper, protect my work surface. Hold it for a moment and release. There we go. And then I'm going to do the other two. We're going to use Shaded Spruce. Just got my finger in there. Do you do that? Oh my goodness, I'm always getting inky fingers. I guess that's not a bad thing, huh? I like to look, you know, make sure you look at your stamp after you put the ink on it so that you can see that you've gotten all the way around. And I'm just kind of doing a little on the side there, doing a little stamp, rotate it a little bit there. And I think since I've got that section there, I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we go. That's our envelope. And that's actually going to lighten up a little bit as it dries. Very straightforward. Okay. Now for the inside, since I've got my ink out and those stamp sets, we're going to go ahead and do make the inside. Make sure that you check the direction of this piece because, you know, 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, they're so close. It's not quite square, but, you know, it kind of looks like it. So just make sure that you'll check it on your card base so that you stamp it in the correct direction. And I'm basically going to do the same thing. Ink up my stamp, and in the corner, I'm going to put that one, and then this small one, just kind of hanging off the edge a little bit. But I do want to make sure I stamp it a second time. There we go. And I like to kind of stamp some of the ink onto my paper before I clean it. Just kind of helps my pads stay a little less inky, my chamois. All right, and now for the sentiment. So I'm going to use a different color. This is Old Olive for the sentiment. Get rid of that Shaded Spruce. Now, because this is a cling stamp, I want to make sure that it lines up straight, you know, because I can't really see through it. So again, I use my paper. Just tap, tap, tap. Make sure I got a good... And see, I can see that I've got some ink around the outside, so I know I need to be careful not to rock at all. And I'm going to use my paper to kind of line up and just check this stamp. Okay, how straight is it? See, it's a little bit high on the right. So I know that when I go to stamp it, I'm going to want to bring that right side down just a little bit. And of course, if I use my Stamparatus, then I would make sure it was truly, truly accurate. But I think this was close enough that I can do that like that. Yay! I think it turned out great. Sometimes, I love my Stamparatus, and we will do some, sorry about that. We will do some sessions on how to use the Stamparatus, but sometimes, you just want to get her done, right? You just want to be straightforward. So, all right, so let's go ahead and stamp the pieces for our card. I'll turn that over. All right, so since I've got the Old Olive ink out, I'm going to go ahead and start with that piece. So the largest flower, I'm going to stamp with Old Olive ink. And I'm just, this is just scrap. So I'm just, here we go. That's the Old Olive. And then I'm done with that color. Actually, no, I'm not. Sorry about that, folks. I'm going to do it. We're going to use, I am. All right. So next we're going to use the cinnamon cider. So I'm going to color one of these in cinnamon cider. So one was Old Olive. The large one was Old Olive. A small one in cinnamon cider. And then we're doing another small one. And that one is, I'm going to do that one in Old Olive as well. Leave my stamp in between. And put that one right there. Okay. And now, the cinnamon cider, I think I'm going to take a separate piece since I have some mine are kind of small. And I'm going to use the cinnamon cider for the flower pot. Now, you can see I left, there's I don't know if you can see that, there's a piece on the stamp that you can remove. I left it in because I liked the idea that I'm going to get a little more ink on that part of the stamp set. If you want a more clean look, you want to take that out. But let's see if that does go ahead and stamp. I got a little bit. I just like the way that looks there. So it's nice that Stampin' Up! Gave us the option to remove that piece there. All right, what else do I need to stamp? I need one more. I'm going to stamp my sentiment on one more piece. And that, I'm using this as a thank you card. So this is the thanks. Tap, tap, tap. You can see I got a good image. And I'm going to use a die to cut that out. Okay, so that, you don't have, when you're using a die, you don't have to worry so much about whether it's straight or not, because you're going to be able to adjust the die to that. All right, put that one aside, and let's get to our blending. Let's go ahead let's actually start with, now one of the reasons I wanted to stamp these first and then get all the stamping done was I want to give them a chance to dry just a little bit. They're probably going to be fine, but I don't like to take a chance that that ink is going to smear, because I'm going to actually do a second color. Now a little bit would be okay, but I just didn't want to take a chance that ink was going to run. So this large succulent, I am going to use the blending brush. Let's move over a little bit. Don't need those anymore, so you can see. And Stampin' Up! Just came out with these this January. They're in the January to June mini catalog. They are back ordered right now, but they'll be available soon. These are really nice. They're ergonomic. They feel really good. They come in a 3-pack, And what I do is I've got separate colors for not every, I do not plan to buy one for every color, but like I'll use, these will be my greens. So tap, tap, tap. I just tap on the ink pad and then I come and I want to see how it's kind of, I don't know if you can see that. It's got kind of like the dark and the light. I want it to be a more smooth. So I tap it off the first time and then I'm going to come in and all I'm going to do is rotate around. And you can see, look at that, how pretty that is. And you can dark or light or, you just keep going, right? Tap, tap, tap again, get that main ink off. And then I kind of start on the outside and come in and I want the middle to the inside to be a little bit darker. So that's it. That's all there is to it. I can tell you it couldn't be easier. And to clean them, all you do is rub until you don't get any color on it anymore. Can that not be simpler? There we go. That one's done. So then the next one I'm going to do is the pool party. Let's move this. So this was the Granny Apple Green on top of the Old Olive. And the next one is Pool Party. And I did the Pool Party on top of the Cinnamon Cider. So for this stamp, this blending brush, again, this is my blues. So you saw I had the greens and this one is the blue. And I'm tap, tap, tap. Now the Pool Party is a lot lighter color. So sometimes, it takes a little bit more, I have to go over it a little bit more often. So tap, 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 get that off. And then lightly come on over. There, you see how it's going to take a few more attempts to get it to be the color that I want. But I really like this shade of Pool Party. And I don't know, did you notice how I'm just rotating the paper, not my arm, just to get all the way around? It's always easier to rotate the paper. Keep your technique pretty much the same. There we go. See how it's starting to get brighter. There we go. That's it. Simple, simple. All right. I'll get some of that Pool Party ink off. And then the next one I'm doing is going to be Mint Macaron. And to me, this Mint Macaron is like the classic color of succulents, the light color. Just Jade's probably the other, kind of what you see most often when I think of succulents anyway. So I'm also using this blue. I went straight from the Pool Party to the Mint Macaron. I don't know, I guess you could argue, is this a green or is this a blue? But to me, it looks more like a blue. So I just went straight to the next one. And there we go. Make sure that's, and just circles, just like that. Make sure that those solid bits of ink are off. And just swirl. And I'm really using a light touch. I know you see my finger here, but I'm really not pressing hard on that at all. I'm keeping it really light. All right. So the succulents are done. We will cut them out with the dies when we're done with all of our coloring. All right. Now the flower pot. And so, since I only have 3, I had, before Stampin' Up! Came out with their blends, I had this one blend. And since it's already brown on it, I decided that that was the one I was going to use for my cinnamon cider and my browns. As you can see, it's quite a bit smaller. I do have to be a little more careful. It picks up the ink, and I want it to be, I don't want all that darkness in it. So I'm going to start off, see, the image, and then go on to the image when I'm sure that most of that extra ink is the way I want it, right? Because I really just want it to be a nice blend. And obviously you can get different looks with this, depending on your goal. You can be really creative, which is one of the things that I really love about these. If you don't have the blends, you can use a sponging brush. You can use the Stampin' Up! Has the, oh what are those called with the finger? Just a brain freeze at the moment, but you can use other methods. You can use, as I said, the stamping sponges and the whatever else, you really have. But I really think you get a nice, really smooth, even look with these blending brushes. And you can see that I just clean that off by doing that. Debbie and Patty are joining me. Hello, ladies. So glad you could be here today. Do love this stamp set, Debbie. No doubt about it. Okay, so now all of my stamping is done, all my coloring. Isn't that pretty? Let's do that. And then all I need to do is die cut. As you can see, they line up really well. If you find that it's a little bit of a challenge to keep them attached, you can use removable tape or washi tape as you run them through your die machine. And as you can see, you kind of have to play around with this to make sure you get just the right. I just kind of put it on there and keep turning. And you can see how as it turns, I finally got the edge that I wanted. And I kind of was watching this little point there. And you just keep turning it around until you get it the way you want it. And then Stampin' Up! Actually gave us 2 of these small dies, which is really nice because then you can run it through one time. You don't have to keep going back unless you stamped yours too close together and they don't fit. Nope, keep rotating it, rotating. There we go. See how, I don't know if you could see that or if my fingers were in the way. There, same idea here. Just keep rotating. It's close, but like that one looks like it's in, but down here I can see that it's not. I hope you can see that. So rotate it again. There we go. All right. No. See, again, close but no cigar. Who coined that term? Where'd that come from? Close but no cigar. There we go. Let's go back and check this one and make sure. All right. There you go. So I would take these and run them through my die cutting machine, but in the interest of time, I am going to bring these that have already been die cut. And the thanks is another one that will need to be die cut. And as you can see, I would just line that up like that. It's very tight, but it does fit that T and the S right on the edges. Run that one through the die cutting machine again. But in the interest of time, I have already pre-die cut those. All right, and then the other dies, the other die cutting that needs to be done are for the other plants in the flower pot. So that, you just line up and run it through your die cutting machine. And I lost a die. There's one more. Well, it's this one. Is in the Granny Apple Green, and you can see how I cut that one out already. And then the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to cut out in that Old Olive. I cut out 2 of the yellow and 1 of the background in the Old Olive. So you just use your die cutting machine to do that. So we've got all our pieces assembled. And now we are ready to put the card together. So I like to kind of, get everything all stamped and die cut and ready to go, and then assemble my card. So the first thing I'm going to do is put this on the inside. So this is my inside. As you know, I like to use liquid glue. Gives me a little bit of wiggle room. But you can use whatever adhesive you prefer. And very straightforward, right? I'm just going to line that up. Make sure it's down all the way around. And it doesn't hurt to turn it over. I'll do it again. All right, and now the front of the card. Again, kind of watch. And with this, you can, this Tasteful Textile die kind of has, it's not too dramatically different, but this is a little more raised than this side. But I think I'm going to use the side that's a little more raised. So I'm going to do that. Turn that over. And for a piece of paper that is for cardstock that's embossed, if you've done the dry embossing, I do recommend the liquid glue for that, because this one's not too bad because there aren't a lot of ridges. But when you've got something that's got deep embossing on it, you want to make sure that it attaches securely. So the liquid glue really does a better job just by its nature of making sure that it gets in all those little grooves. Make sure you get a good solid contact there. All right, I think before I put together the rest of the card, I'm going to make that one whole bow. So I don't know if you remember, we did that a couple weeks ago. I am going to use the small hole punch. This is like a quarter, just got it from a regular office store. Some of you might have the crocodile, which has multiple size hole punches in one system. And I'm just kind of centering it this way, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And then we take our ribbon. I think this one's going to be retiring with the new catalog comes out. So I just lay it over the top, the front, and then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to bring each end through the front of the card. So back to front. And this sometimes is the toughest part, is getting it through, but usually you can kind of just grab a few. Here we go. Bronze, and it goes through. And then do it the other way. And you can see that hole is there. And if I can just get that one little one through, all I need is a little thread to get started. There we go. Bring that one through. And now I want to make sure that one of these, and it doesn't matter which one, I just want them to be on opposite sides so that when I go to tie my bow or my knot, it's even. Can you tell I really like this little bow? It's just so much easier sometimes than doing a knot. There we go. That's how it looks on the back, and I can, if I want to make sure it looks pretty on both sides, I can kind of straighten it out a little bit. I don't know, do you have, when you send your cards out, do people look at the back to see? Do you sign your cards? I hope you do. Sign your cards so that people know that you made it. Okay, there we go. And you just saw that was just overhand, just a simple overhand knot, and pull it through. And then I'm just going to cut on an angle. Voila. How easy is that? Okay, so now we get to plant our planter. So let's see, I think what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have my sentiment completed too, so that I can line everything up and make sure that it's going to fit right. So what I'm going to do here, there is a die that's larger than this, but it was too big, I thought, for this particular card. So what I'm going to do instead is a trick that, I'm sure you've seen before. You basically cut this in half, and then I'm going to just glue this on the back. And I like to do it one at a time. Just stagger it a little bit. Oh, there we go. I'm kind of moving it down because I want it a little bit to show, but I don't want it to be huge. All right, and then I'm going to do the same on this side. So put a little bit of glue on there. And so, I don't know if you noticed, yeah, there we go. There we go. There. Okay, and I just realized, you know what I did? I glued the wrong side, but it is not to despair. So I can use my take your pick tool, and I'm gonna just slide that under there, get that glue off. So what I probably should have done since I done it one way, I probably should have just made sure the other one was like that. But it's not a big deal. I don't know if you can tell, there's stitching in these dies. And I put the stitching on one side and then the other way. So just going to turn that around. Opportunities, right? These are just opportunities, not mistakes. All right. Much better. Now you can see the stitching on both sides. Now it's sticking to my table. Not to worry. Just kind of fiddle with it a little bit. There we go. All right, I hope you all had a wonderful Easter. Celebrating any way, whatever way you do in your life. We had some family visiting us, which was, of course, lovely. And had some wonderful food. And this was a gorgeous day. Gorgeous. Okay, so there, I just wanted to make sure I had that so that I could kind of decide how I'm going to line it up. And then, I kind of just played with it, right? You do have to be careful that this aloe doesn't hang over, into your bookbinding, because remember, you're going to you've got that fold there. So you don't want that to be kind of caught in the fold. And this is all going to be covered up, so it's not going to really matter, right? These are undimensional, so I moved that over. And what I did was I kind of cut out the one of those. I kind of cut this one out on mine. You could certainly leave it if you prefer, but I liked it this way. So I just kind of lay it all out. Actually, I think I'm going to cut out that one as well. There we go. Okay, and then, so those pieces are all going to be glued down, but I'm going to just line up. This one's going to be undimensional, so let's go ahead and put this one dimensional. You can see that I had a mess up, so I used the back side of that. And this one is also going to be on a dimensional. And this is going to go over here, kind of hanging off. So now I'm just kind of lining it up because, I did this a while ago. I got to remember, what did I do? And you can actually kind of arc them a little bit, so that they kind of come off, gives them a little more of a three-dimensional look. It's nice to do that before you glue everything down. So it's going to go like that, and then this one is going to go on top. Okay, so you got the general idea. So now let's get those out of the way. And, oh, sorry, didn't mean to hit that. I'm going to just use glue dots just because they're easy. You could use liquid glue, and I'm really just putting some glue dots on the base of these because I kind of want I want them to kind of come up a little bit. And with this first one, I'm mainly watching that, again, that I don't get that in that seam. There. And more glue dots. I love glue dots. They're just so easy to work with. And then this one, I think I'm going to just kind of put it like that. And I will use liquid glue for my flower pot. That's the next layer. As I said, I find when I'm layering, I just want to make sure that I lay it all out first so that I know where it's going to go. All right. Then the next layer is this guy, and I am going to use glue, but he's also going to have some another layer on top of him. So I'm going to put that off to the side. All right, so now I want to make sure to cover that up. You could certainly just cut it off, but since I know I want to cover it up, I'm going to just make sure. Okay, now with this guy, he could be on a raised up a little bit, but I don't want him all the way high because I want him, you know, he's going to be behind these other two, which are going to be on dimensionals. So I'm using a glue dot. It'll raise him up just a little, and then of course because he's on top of two other plants, it does raise him up a little. And then next is this larger succulent. I don't know the names of the succulents. You know, I know a lot of my plants, but that is one I don't know. So you kind of play around with it. To me, that looks like it's the way it would be looking down on me. So I kind of rotate it around a little bit. And then this one, just going to kind of overlap him a little bit like that. There we go. And last, well, no, not last. We still have our bling. There we go. That. And then the last thing are these in color enamel dots. And I like to use my take your pick tool to just take these off. I use this end here, kind of push them off. Whoops. And then it picks them up, and I'm going to put one down there. Let's see, let's put one there. So I don't know about you, but these colors remind me of the 70s. Did you all have plants? I had a lot of plants in the 70s. Oh my goodness. Macrame hanging baskets. Ugh, am I dating myself or what? All right, there we go. That's it. There's our envelope. Nice and simple. I hope you enjoyed this card that we made today. You make the ordinary extraordinary. Now, I think you could send that to a man or a woman. I think it's very versatile, very versatile. Now, if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you would like to order any of the pieces from today, please contact me at Crafty Heron Designs. We are coming up with a new catalog, and it will be available to order May 4th. I do have my copy of the new catalog, so I can give you a sneak peek. It has some beautiful, beautiful things in it. But this Simply Succulent stamp set is available through the end of June. So it's not too late. It's not too late to get it. It really is a beautiful stamp set, and I will show you some of the other cards we made during that class that I did. This is one where I used that background die, and we did watercolor wash on this this card. It was really fun. And I made some a little tag, a little happy birthday tag with those pieces. And this is actually, I don't know if you can see, there's some vellum cut out there. And then we also practiced coloring with the blends. And this is where you really want to know your shading. You know, where do we want to shade? Where do the shadows sit? So I may go ahead and, if you're interested, I may go ahead and do a Facebook Live on for this card. And we can talk about how to use the blends to do some shading and highlighting. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful week. Oh, I see Linda Norton is watching. Hey, Linda, it's so good to see you. I hope you all are doing well and things are warming up in Canada. Thanks for joining me, ladies, and I'm going to do this again next Monday. Another Make It Monday. Take care. Bye.